I am Anthony from Bayside, and you're watching Moshcam. It was really stressful at the time. You know, this was our 7th record, so for all 6 other ones, I would come up with song ideas at home, and then I'd bring them into practice, and we'd all get into a room for hours and hours and weeks and months and kind of hammer out those ideas. But with this, a lot of it had to come together in the studio. You know, we were all working separately and mailing ideas to each other, and then in the studio, songs were a lot less developed than we're used to them being developed. Like our last record, for instance, we recorded in like 14 days, I think, just because there was nothing to discuss. It was just a matter of putting it on tape. And this one, we were in the studio for like 6 weeks, just because we were still kind of working out ideas. So it was stressful when it was happening because it felt like we were unprepared. But once we were done, we were able to see that that was actually a really good process, actually, to have everybody's head involved and constantly rethinking ideas and never really settling on anything. I mean, we always try to, it's really important to us to make sure that Bayside always sounds like Bayside, and we, over the years, have kind of figured out what those main characteristics are and what has to be there to make it sound like a Bayside song. But we're always just trying to like experiment with different styles. I mean, I'm really into to show tunes and musicals, and that plays a big part in my songwriting and my singing and stuff as well. And that's always sort of been there as an influence, but with this record in particular, we decided to really take that like kind of the whimsical aspect of show tunes and stuff and put it into the record even more. Well, you know, I think it factored in more ways than one. It factored in as far as the inspiration goes. I certainly had a lot on my mind, and I had a lot to say, and writing songs about everything was really good. But also, I was physically sort of isolated at the time, so it kept me sort of locked up in a room for a really long time with nowhere to go and nobody to hang out with. So I think as far as the inspiration goes, and even like the physical aspect of the last year or two of my life has kind of played a huge role in the record. You know, I didn't write the lyrics on our first record. We had our old bass player. We used to write the lyrics, and I would take his lyrics and put melodies to them. That was 12 years ago. And then once he left the band and I had to write lyrics, I was really nervous about it because I'd never really done it before, and didn't know if I could or not. And the only way that I could figure out how to do it was to just write my thoughts down on paper and write like journals and try to turn those journals into lyrics. And that's really the only process that I found that worked for me. Like trying to be poetic or trying to be clever just didn't work for me. I had to just like be blunt and stream of consciousness. So it's all I really know how to do. But I think this record was a little more uniquely personal for me because I was writing things in the songs that I hadn't really told anyone else. So when I was writing the songs and I had demo versions and stuff, I was playing them for my friends and for the band, it did actually feel like uncomfortable, like people were like looking at my journal. It was for the first time, it was weird. It was a weird feeling. Every song's different. Sometimes I'll come up with a bass line or a drum groove, and I'll write the song around that. And sometimes I come up with a melody. Sometimes it's a lyric that I'll put a melody to. It changes a lot, but lyrics are the one thing that I would say aren't done until the record goes to press. I could write a song and have all the lyrics done 6 months before we go in the studio, and I'll change a word, I'll change a line, I'll change a verse, all through the process. I mean, there's times that I'll track the vocal, and then I'll go home and I'll think about it, and the next day I'll come back and retrack it because I thought of a different lyric. So the lyrics are always changing. It's never finished. It's never finished. It's finished when you're dead. I listen to old records, and there's things I would change about it. You know, like records from 10 years ago. There's things that I wish I could change. So, it's finished when you run out of time. There's a lot of tricks to songwriting, and there's a lot of tricks to being a musician and being a professional band. And you get better at it, obviously, just through time and through practice. You get better at your instrument, you get better at performing, you get better at writing. And the funny thing is that getting better at it actually means being able to listen to your own music as a layman. And it's actually the opposite of becoming an expert in writing or an expert in performing. It's taking being able to think like a non-expert, and that, you know. So I think the more time goes on, the more I just try to take myself out of my body when I'm writing something and listen to it the way somebody who didn't write it is going to hear it, or somebody who doesn't even play an instrument would hear it, you know. When you lose your mind, you'll find it. Devotion and Desire, for sure. That is our closing song. And like, as if the world was ending, that's how we would close it out. We've been ending our sets with Devotion and Desire since we wrote it like 12 years ago. And like on this tour, we're not doing encores, and we'll close the set with Devotion and Desire, and somebody will come up to us, or somebody will, you know, people will yell to play one more song or something. We say, we already played Devotion and Desire. We can't play anything else. Not until I have to go to sleep before I'm allowed to play anything after that song.